These are the 0.2 C notes for PreCalc. We're going to be finishing up our quadratics by doing the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is a last resort. You only want to use it if you cannot solve the problem a different way. So our quadratic formula, let's write it out here. It's x equals negative b, so the opposite sign of whatever the b value is, plus and minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you need to have it set equal to 0, so the problem needs to look like this. So a is whatever in front of x squared, b is in front of x, and c is the number by itself. Of course, all those a, b, and c could be negative as well. Let's try example number 1. 8c squared plus 11c plus 7 equals 6c squared. We're going to start by moving the 6c squared to the other side. There we go. That gives us 2c squared. Bring down the 11c. Bring down the 7. And then this letter is our A, 11 is our B, 7 is the C. Let's go ahead and plug this into the formula. I've got x equals negative b, so negative 11, plus minus sign. And the plus minus sign is what's going to get us our two answers for these problems, a positive and negative version. B squared, I usually put the b in a parenthesis when I'm going to square it. That's especially important when you have a negative. 4 times A times C. 4 times A times C. So the 4 is always there. And then in the denominator, I've got 2 times A. A is 2. Right. And then we just simplify. So negative 11 plus and minus the square root of. And you can type this entire thing into your calculator if you want. What I mean by that is this whole thing could go into your calculator, or you could do it individually, which is what I'll do. 11 squared is 121. And I'm going to multiply 4 times 2 times 7, keeping in mind that there's a minus sign. So 4 times 2 times 7 is 56, and I'll have to write it as minus 56. In the denominator, 2 times 2 is 4. Then you'll subtract. 121 minus 56 gets me 65 over 4. And all the problems that we're going to work with are not going to be able to be factored. So if you tried 65 and tried to break it down, you would be able to get just 13 times 5, which then does not break down any further, which means there are no more ways to simplify. So this will be our final answer. And example number 2. Start by adding 6v over to its like term. And once you have it set equal to 0, then you can identify the a, the b, and the c. So a is going to be 1, invisible number in front of the v squared. B will be negative 1, the number in front of v. C will be negative 5. Negative b would be negative 1. You're more than welcome to immediately turn that to a plus, but the first negative is coming from the formula, and the second negative is coming from the value of b. So I'll write both of them there just so you can see why that's happening. And right there, parentheses are important. Like that. Minus 4 times A times C. All over 2A. I know what my A is. I'll plug that in. There we go. Next step is to simplify. Double negative in front is going to make a positive 1. Negative 1 squared is positive. And then I do 4 times 1 times 5. So I usually multiply all the numbers as positive numbers, get an answer. And then I decide on my sign. I have a negative right here and a negative right here, or a minus right there and a negative right there. That's going to turn into a plus right there. And 2 times 1 is 2. So for your last step, you're just going to combine your numbers underneath your radical to get 21 over 2. 21 cannot be simplified. You get a 7 and a 3, which does not have any pairs, which means that's your final answer.